Welcome to episode 170 of Level Up Your Career with APMG. Yes, that's right. We are at episode 170. Welcome to 60 minutes of live Q&A where your questions drive the show. My name is Stephan Brendel, and on behalf of APMG, I am your host today. My colleague Ella is in the LinkedIn and YouTube chat present, so please let us know your name and the city from where you're joining. She will post a link for you to vote up the questions that you would most like answered, and of course for you to add your own. If your question is selected, your name will appear in the credits at the end of the show, so get yours in early and stay with us to see that happen. Today we discuss the question, is being agile the same as knowing Scrum? And you might ask yourself, has one determined the other? Is Scrum just a recipe of a wider agile approach, or wouldn't we even think agile without Scrum? Joining us today are a panel who work across industries and time zones, and they will provide practical examples, insights, and hints rather than firing an academic discussion. Sounds interesting? Well, then let's get started and meet them. Hello, panel. I start with Johann. Johann Botha is a lifelong lean advocate who has built a career on helping organizations change for the better. Specializing in building digital age capability, Johann describes himself as a digital change provocateur. He's using an innovation and business agility method called ADAPT, and his focus is practical skills development to enable people to transform organizations. He helps organizations solve problems, grow people, facilitate difficult change, dream, scheme, and most importantly, do. Selected at top 25 thought leaders in Agile and customer experience by Thinkers 360 in 2021, Johann is joining us from Johannesburg in South Africa. Welcome back, Johann.
Thank you, Stephan, and also thank you for the invitation to come back. For those of you who don't know what the change provocateur is, it's somebody that stirs.
Right, good. Thanks for making that clear, Johann. Also on the panel is Richard Campbell. He's responsible for developing and delivering the Agile Business Consortium's portfolio of products. The consortium products help organizations respond more effectively to the complex and volatile world in which we operate. As the professional body for business agility, the consortium's products help individuals grow their competence in the application of agile principles. Richard has spent his career working in the advanced technology sector in a mix of commercial and product management roles in the communications, defense, finance, and transportation sectors. Richard's proudest achievement includes being a passionate ecologist, technologist, and practical problem solver. He has designed and built 2 houses with strong ecological credentials. And he's joining us from Bath today. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you very much. And it's lovely to join everyone here today. I look forward to a lively debate with everyone, and let's proceed.
All right. Thanks, Richard. Shola Issac is the executive director at Training Creatively, where he delivers a wide range of project and program management training for clients across industries. Shola is a proud trainer for many certifications, such as change management, agile project management, agile business analysis, benefits management, praxis, and BRM. He has extensive experience in delivering value to his clients and has facilitated training courses for over 5,700 delegates worldwide. He's joining us from London today. Welcome back, Shola.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me back. And I'm looking for very lively discussion indeed.
All right. Yeah, so do I. Our next panelist, also from the UK, is Adrian Pyne. Adrian is head of governance and a trustee of My Melanoma, a new cancer research organization. He's the author of various works, notably the book Agile Beyond IT, and an advisor, coach, visiting lecturer, and writer on organization and project management agility. Now a fellow of the Association of Project Management, Adrian has been active member since the early 90s, especially in program portfolio and stakeholder management, governance, agility, and a diversity champion. Adrian joins us from Dorset. Lovely to have you with us today.
Thank you very much indeed. It's great to be with this amazing panel. I'm looking forward to this particular question today because it really speaks to the heart of so many expensive mistakes, but I'm sure we'll get on to that.
We will, Adrian. Completing our panel today is Dierk. He calls himself a solopreneur, where he focuses on strengthening people and teams, improving competency and performance with an empathetic approach. Dierk's services are indeed in high demand by valued organizations. He runs the German-speaking DevOps podcast Auf die Ohren und ins Hirn, it translates in your ears and into your brain, has a lecture assignment on modern design options for high-performance IT organizations at the Nord Academy in Hamburg, and published the reference book IT Service Management with FitSM. Dierk's clients range from DAX corporations to medium-sized companies to smaller IT service providers. As a frequent panelist on Level Up, joining us from Göttingen in Germany today. Welcome back, Dierk.
Hello, Stephan. Hello, Agile community all over the world. I'm looking forward to another 60 minutes of interesting questions and answers. And as you know, I'm also looking forward to learning something from my colleagues. And greetings also to Richard here on the show. We seem to have the same taste in clothing.
Looks so. Our question master today is my colleague Suchitra Jacob, who's joining us from the garden city of Bangalore in India. Hello, Suchitra, and may we have a first question?
Hi, Stephan, and hi to the panelists and our viewers. Yes, of course, you can have the first question, which is from Johann, our panelist. Why do so many organizations fail to materialize the promise of Agile and Scrum?
All right. So let's start with Dierk and then followed by Richard.
I just started reading the question and think to myself, is there a promise from Agile and is there a promise from Scrum? I think you all know the books from the Scrum authors, doing double work or twice the work in half the time. But I think, to my point of view, there's no promise. I think there Scrum and Agile are some kind of mindset and working. But I think there's no promise, and I think you should use something. And coming back to the questions, so I think fail. Just missing one word. It's early in the morning on Monday.
Can I help you out, Dierk?
So maybe you can help me out if going to another panelist.
All right. Okay. No worries. Just come back when you find that. So interesting. That's it. That I would say the bringing this up as is there really a promise? But let's hear from Richard then.
Yeah. So. It's a good place to start the discussion, I would agree. And I think the key here is that there's a difference between an individual or even a team adopting Agile and Scrum and the organization as a whole. And when you look at the challenges of why an organization doesn't succeed, even if a team accurately follows and succeeds in applying agility and Scrum specifically as a delivery mechanism, if the organization is putting barriers in place around how it handles its finance, how it organizes HR to recruit the right people. Is the culture correct? Is there psychological safety to allow people to find their voice and speak their mind? All of these are practical barriers to success in the agile world. So it's a complex question, and I think we're going to be exploring probably each one of those subjects as we go through the day.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. A very good hint on the complexity of this. But let's hear from Shola next.
It's a fantastic question, isn't it? And I'm thinking about the word promise. Some of us might be thinking of the Agile Manifesto to create more value using agile methods. But then you see a promise needs commitment, needs resources for you to get the benefits in achieving the promise. If you look at many organizations, they are still subject, aren't they, to the realities of life. So they might have promised that, yes, we are going to commit resources, we are going to make available the product owner, we are going to make available different business resources during the production of the products. But are they able to do so? Are those business resources having the in-depth knowledge that is required to create products? We know how frequently staff turn over their jobs nowadays. So the business resource that was supposed to interact with the Scrum project or the Agile teams at the beginning of the project is no longer there. You now have somebody who has no clue. One good reason why you might not get the kind of benefits you expected when investing in Agile or Scrum. And I'm sure my other panelists will come up with so many other reasons as well, practical reasons.
Okay, thanks, Shola. And let's hear next from Adrian.
I had immediately thought about the point that sort of Richard first raised. Organization culture is critical to agility being able to deliver the promise or value, whatever we want to refer to it as. So but Richard's explained that well. I don't need to. The thing I would add is the thing about understanding what we mean by agile, or rather, what agile. There's a saying that first kind of got me involved in this about 15 years ago. Scrum is agile, but sorry. Oh goodness me! There's me doing the early morning thing now. Yes. Oh my goodness! It's Scrum. Agile is Scrum. No. Oh goodness me! It's. I don't know. I must be getting old. Basically, Scrum is agile, but it isn't all of agile. So there's lots of different agility, and a huge mistake a lot of organizations face is they say, "Oh, we can do Scrum in IT. Now we want to be agile elsewhere. Let's take Scrum and drop it into a completely different place, like projects or engineering or marketing or finance, and expect it to work the same." It can't. What you need to do is adapt the Agile Manifesto to different work areas and not simply lift and shift different things. That's what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
Thanks, Adrian. I'm still struggling to be honest with the word promise, and would rather see that as an expectation. But let's hear from the person who raised the question initially. Johann, please.
Yeah, I think maybe promise was the wrong word. I think lots of people think they're going to get lots of new value when they start going down the agile road. But I'm glad that Richard started with this issue of commitment, and especially leadership commitment, because it means if you truly want the value out of doing things differently, it means that you need to commit to doing things differently. And that commitment at the top is most probably the reason, or not most probably, it is the reason why I certainly see organizations fail with this. Because there's this expectation that this is a little method or something that you can go and do somewhere in a corner. And it's not. It affects the way that you run your business. It affects the culture of your organization, right from strategy at the top through to doing customer delivery and support. It is a major commitment, and I think people shouldn't underestimate the amount of effort that's involved in changing the culture of your organization.
All right. Thanks for this, and thanks, panel, for going around for the first question. And I just want to look out into the world. Good morning, everyone, says Sulyat Enyafi Salami from Lagos in Nigeria. Hello, Sulyat. Good to see you. And Malini from Melbourne, Australia. Malini, of course, is a regular panelist here as well. And you can learn how to become one if you subscribe to our show. It will also give you an option to become a panelist yourself. And yes, Marlene, I agree with you. It's a great topic. Robert Rennie from Scotland. Great to have someone from Scotland listening to us. Hi, Robert. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. Hope you enjoy that show. And everyone there, just be getting in live questions, and all live questions, as I said in the beginning, have a priority over others that are already on the list. So make sure you get your question in. And as the banner says, if you have any questions, please enter them in the chat and we will get them over, and we're going to see them here. Let's see, Suchitra, what we have as next question, please.
Sure, and we do have a live question that's coming from Mohammed.
Okay.
What are the differences between Agile Management and Scrum?
So we're starting with Adrian, I suppose, and then followed by Richard, and then followed by Dierk, and then Johann. Adrian, please.
I kind of leapt in on this one because it follows from a previous comment I'd made. Scrum is something that an agile software development technique. There'll be some of you out there who argue, "Oh, it's not. Scrum actually isn't agile." But I don't want to get into that particular one. Let's just assume that it is an agile software development approach, and that's what it is. That's what it's designed for. But agility can be and has long been adapted well outside of software development to many areas: marketing, project management, engineering, even construction. And what they all have in common is the elements of agility. So agile management, and I'm going to exemplify agile project management, is agile. It reflects, when it's done properly, when it's defined properly, it reflects all 4 values and all 12 principles of the Agile Manifesto, which it has to, not 1 or 2 of them, because then you're not being agile. And it is different. When people have tried to, for example, use Scrum to say, "Oh, you can use Scrum for project management," it simply can't. It does not contain, it does not comprise a great deal of what you do in project management, what you do in a project. It's a crazy idea. I don't know where it came from. So the differences between agile project management is and the similarities is they both reflect the Agile Manifesto. The differences is how that Agile Manifesto is adapted to those areas. It's the difference between just management per se and software development. That's it.
Thanks, Adrian. And I think it's just to add on that one, I think there's a lot of perception that comes into play. Like if you go to a Scrum guy and ask him, is there anything other agile than Scrum? You will probably, half of them will say, no, don't know any. That's why. That's just a perception that's coming from, if it's Scrum, then it's agile, right? Well, we will probably elaborate more on that. And let's next hear from Richard.
Yeah, well, I think Adrian's provided an excellent introduction to this question. Where I'd pick up from here is so specifically, the question refers to agile management, and I think my leaning would be to twist that to talk about agile leadership rather than agile management. To give a focus away from project management specifically, and to say that while Scrum focuses very much on how to deliver things, or the practices about how a team can deliver value, agile leadership is a principle or a set of ideas that everyone participating in that delivery mechanism and those who are providing leadership elsewhere through the organization adopt agility at the heart of how they operate. And the Agile Business Consortium, we've come up with the 9 principles of agile leadership. And again, it goes back to the idea that Adrian brought up here. It's not you pick the ones you like and ignore the others. If you want to be agile, you have to do them all. You have to consider every aspect of it. And a central one that I would bring out here is the idea that leadership lives everywhere in the organization. So what you're looking to do is to ensure that from the newest member of the team, they take leadership in what they do, what they specialize in. And leadership at the top end is far more about servant leadership, as in how can I ensure that everyone who's working on this activity is empowered to do their best, to contribute the most they can. So it's a culture and an attitude as much as it is a set of individual steps that you perform in.
All right. You heard it, Mohammed. Thanks, Richard. Let's then hear from Dierk.
Oh, thanks, Adrian, and thanks, Richard. Good points. And I want to add a different perspective on that. So if you look on the Scrum Guide, the Scrum Guide tells you how a team with up to 10 people can work together. So if you look on the basics on the Scrum Guide, it does not tell you how to run a company using agile mindset and other things like that. You don't find any hint in the Scrum Guide where you get your money. So the Scrum Guide is a small 15 or 16 page framework. And to my point of view, agile management is a little bit more holistic. It's regarding how to deal with scaling, with interdependencies and all the things like that. So to my point of view, agile management maybe is the older one. Scrum is 25 years old, more than 25 years, and the agile management has adopted different things, maybe lean or something like that, to be more practical, to give more practical hints, and to get the full advantage from agile and from Scrum.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I was always thinking about who actually cares for the budgeting in a Scrum team. That's absolutely true. Yeah, but let's hear from Johann next, please.
Okay, first thing that I need to say is I love Scrum. There's no two ways about it. I use it all of the time. But it's really interesting that some of the stuff that Adrian and Richard already touched on that people need to realize is that Scrum is actually not a project management method. It's actually a product continual improvement method that can be adopted to different environments. It doesn't have to be software development. But yeah, if you try and replace your project management office and program management with Scrum, you're going to find a bunch of holes. That's just not catered for. The second thing that I just quickly want to mention is that we quite often use Scrum as a means to start changing behavior in the organization. The magic thing that I like about Scrum is there's nothing in Scrum that doesn't talk about some change in behavior within the organization. And it helps, especially in the beginning. I find it as a helpful tool, powerful tool to start embedding new thinking and behavioral change within the organization.
All right. Thanks, Johann. And let's hear, completing this round of answers from Shola.
Not a lot to add to what my co-panelists have said. Agile leadership is looking at bringing benefits to the stakeholders of the organization, whereas Scrum is focused on product delivery. But they do have similarities, though. They are both focused on delivery in increments, iterative delivery, and particularly stakeholder engagement, while managing time and cost constraints. Nothing much to add to what my panelists have said. Thank you.
Thank you, Shola. And I think we should turn our attention again to our visitors and listeners. And we have here Amir Yamil. He sends us greetings from London. Hello, Amir. Yes, greetings from the panel here on our live show, where we're getting all your wonderful live questions. And Mohammed, yes, I think we just had your question on the panel. Very good one. And then there is Ayo Amuzan also from Nigeria. Good morning. And hopefully you're enjoying this show. And we getting live questions in. Please continue to add your questions to the chat. They will find their way. Mohammed just experienced that. And we will go on with certainly the next live question, Suchitra, correct?
Yeah, we do have another live question from Alex Raschenko. I hope I got that right. Does the use of tools like Excel or Jira in Scrum contradict the second value of the Agile Manifesto that emphasizes individuals over processes and tools?
Let us start with Johann, then followed by Richard, and then Dierk. And I think that is an interesting question. We're talking about tools here. Johann, please.
It is a choice. It depends. If you let that happen within your organization, and you think by implementing a tool, you're going to change the culture of the organization, then the answer is yes. But remember, these values say we value something over something. It's actually advice that it gives. It says, don't let your tools lead your practice. Let individuals lead your practice.
Yeah, we had that before, I think. The fool with the tool is still a fool, right? So it depends on the individual. Exactly, yeah. Well then, let's hear from Richard next, please.
Well, I think Johann's absolutely nailed it. It's not that we're trying to discourage people from using tools. I mean, tools, you couldn't do the complex things which we're involved with projects and programs without tooling assistance. It's not letting it get in the way of being agile. It is about ensuring, the meetings, the interaction, the engagement with both your peers and your customers, your other stakeholders is far more important than whatever tool you use to coordinate the communication or the administration of whatever activity you're involved with. So it's a matter of priority. And that's a judgment call, but it means everyone who's involved with it recognizes it's far more important to speak to people than it is to rely on the tools to drive your activity. That's me.
Yeah, that's you. Thanks, Richard. And let's hear from Dierk next.
Fully agree to Johann and Richard. Just add another point from my coaching practices. So I always try to help the team. So if there were a question, should we or are we allowed to use Excel or are we allowed to Jira or something like that? It's always as the team decides with which tool they work. And if they want to use Excel or if they want to use Jira, they may use it because they decide their design of work. So it's not forbidden to use tools, and it's not forbidden to define some processes. It's very helpful. And as Richard said, we focus on processes, we focus on tools, but we value more than individuals. So if the team wants to use it, and if it's helpful for the team, why don't you use it?
Thanks, Dierk. And I think I would like to elaborate a little bit more on the tool side of things. As you say, there's nothing religious about not following the Agile Manifesto. If it's best for the team to use Jira or Excel or any other tool, then just do it. If you keep the principles in mind that you want to do end-to-end service and you want to provide that, and if you think you can't do this without implementing a Jira ticketing system, well then, by all means, go ahead. That will be my advice, Alex. Yeah, as well. And I think I'm in line with the panelists. But don't become religious over Agile Manifesto principles. That's not what they were made for. They're guiding principles. All right, thanks to the panel. And Suchitra, can we have our next question, please?
Yeah, we have a question from Robert. Which organizational problems do we try to solve by going agile? And what kind of problems does it introduce?
All right. Organizational problems. So I can see some hands raising. We start with Richard, followed by Adrian, and then Johann. Richard, please.
So there's a very useful model that I like to refer to called the Knuffen framework to explore this area, which recognizes that not all problems are the same. And agility really is well suited, or rather it has its greatest value when the problem space that you're working in is what we refer to as complex. Now, there are the other spaces are where you have a very predictable, fixed set of constraints that your activity is involved with. And agility, whilst it can be applied in those simpler environments, it really comes into its own when there is high volatility, complexity, ambiguity, and uncertainty in the problem domain. And this requires that it's no longer a matter that you've got one or two clever people at the top of your team telling everyone what to do. You need to employ the brains of everyone in your organization to address the problem, because it is so complex, it's so volatile, it's so uncertain. And that's the space where agility really comes into its own. That doesn't mean you can't apply it elsewhere. It's a very good set of practices to apply at all sorts of problems. But the big gains, or rather I would argue, you won't make progress unless you apply agile principles to those highly complex environments.
Mm-hmm. Well said, Richard. Thanks. And let's hear from Adrian.
Yeah, in 2021, PA Consulting produced 2 back-to-back reports. I mean, many organizations have done this, and McKinsey's and everybody. But what they concluded, their key conclusion was that agile organizations were more profitable than non-agile organizations. And you only have to look at sector disruptors like Amazon in retail, and you could argue Elon Musk in, well, ever increasing sectors, it seems, actually to see that, shall we say, traditional organizations, hierarchical, centralized organizations, are under threat from many disruptors. And the problem they have could actually be survival. So an agility could be the answer to that. I'm not going to say it is, because we've already discussed the incredible organization culture difficulty of an organization moving to agility. But if you like, the problem it could be solving, agility could be solving, is helping an organization to survive.
All right. Okay. Good point made, Adrian. Let's hear then next from Johann.
Yeah, I'm glad, Richard, that you mentioned Kevin. And in fact, Scrum claims to be an empirical approach. Yeah, so that fits solely or squarely within that. What's the top domain again? Top left.
That's right.
The problem space. Yeah, complex. The complex space. Sorry, I need to look up because that's how we call things. A little bit of NLP there. So it helps us to solve these complex, and actually it sometimes moves a little bit to the complicated environment also. And all of you have heard this statement that people are using when they talk about Agile, saying, we need to fail fast. But that needs to be put in context. If you talk about Kevin, for instance, and you talk about the obvious domain, and I hope I'm not breaking the rules here. If you fail fast in that obvious domain, highly regimented, you should get your ass fired. It's just irresponsible to do that. But I think the second part of the question is also interesting, and what problems does it introduce? A myriad if the organization is not embracing the change that needs to go with being agile. And that starts with thought patterns first. You have to think differently about work before you can start doing work differently. And for a large bureaucratic organization, that shift is extremely difficult. And that's when organizational leadership tells people, you guys go and be agile, but we don't want to change. That's a problem.
Yeah, thanks, Johann. I think, but it also can be a nice approach to set the organization under challenge by having one group being agile, because that can move up things a bit quicker than others. I don't know. Not sure. Let's hear from Dierk.
Oh, fantastic question to my point of view from Robert. But I want to solve this question. I want to pass it over to the organizations. Which problems do you want to solve? Why are you using Scrum, or why do you want to go Agile? So if there's no point except that, my friend from the golf court does it, I want to do the same. It's no really good answer. So define why are you using Scrum after answering the question, what are your problems? And maybe Agile or Scrum or something like that is not your solution. So first of all, answer this question for your organization. Which problems do you want to solve?
All right. Thanks, Dierk. And let's hear from Shola last.
Again, because I'm last, my co-panelists have answered what I can think of as solutions to the questions just asked. But I will touch on the second question. What kind of problems does the introduction of Agile bring to organizations? Cultural problems. We need to think differently. We need to resource Agile approaches effectively to be able to get the benefits. So cultural problems, the co-panelists have mentioned that a couple of times in other questions. And another problem that might be brought about by the use of Agile is trying to use Agile approaches, techniques, principles in non-Agile situations. And I think, I believe Richard touched on that earlier on, or was it Adrian when he was speaking? Those are the two problems that using Agile can also introduce.
All right, thanks. Interesting, Shola. Yeah, time's running. Let's move on with the next question. Suchitra, please.
So we have a question from AO Amusan. What should be the ideal duration for a Scrum meeting? And do these meetings really bring value? What methods should be used? Diverge or converge or both?
Oh, panelists, I want to see your hands on this one. So Johann has the courage to start us off, and then we see who else wants to add something.
Yeah. It depends which Scrum meeting you're talking about. Yeah, are you talking about your Scrum planning? Are you talking about your retrospective? Are you talking about your daily Scrum, or what we call a stand-up? The guidelines for that is pretty clearly defined within the Scrum guide. Yeah, and the typical planning and review meetings depends on how long a Scrum is. A daily stand-up, 15 minutes. It stops people from talking nonsense, and it helps people to focus. The second part of the question, the diverge and converge again, is most probably in Scrum, in the planning meeting. You need to think about diverging and converging. I don't think it's the place of the daily stand-up to diverge and converge. It's a place where you give feedback and understand what's busy happening. Interesting question about the rest. Can you diverge and diverge in your retrospective? Maybe, because you're trying to understand why things went wrong. Yeah. So in that sense, you can actually apply those two principles that comes from the design thinking world.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Johann. So a question that leads to another question. Interesting. And let's hear from Dierk. Sorry, Dierk, I'm afraid I can't hear you at the moment.
Oh, sorry for that. And now you can hear me. That's what Nigel said. Don't use the unmute or the mute button. So I want to switch to another point from the for that questions. In my trainings and in my coaching part and my part, I often do get the questions or the feeling that people tell me, oh, Scrum has too much meeting. We are sitting in meetings. And I think that's really rubbish. Scrum defines time box. Scrum defines duration. So I ask them, in how many teams are you? And so they tell me, oh, I'm 2 teams or 3 teams. And now that's it. Scrum defines that you're only in one meeting and if in one team. And if you are in one team, this point and the value from the duration, the time boxing leads to focus. That's what my other panelists said. So the value, from my point of view, is you have duration, you have maximum exceed, and if you count on, you have only 10 or 15% of your work time spending in meetings. And I think nearly everyone in the world out there in business will be very thankful if he have 80 or 85% free time for his work, not spending in meetings. So cut off your meetings, go to one Scrum team and use the time box for your personal value.
Yeah, sounds like a very ideal scenario you're proposing here. You wouldn't agree to that, right? Okay, then let's hear from Richard.
Well, I think Dierk had really nailed the points which are important here, that, when you focus in on the specific duration of any events that you're going to employ within Scrum, maybe what I would talk about here is the overall cadence. When you go back to, again, this is picking up on a point that Dierk made in an earlier answer. if your organization consists of numerous teams and numerous teams of teams even, it's vitally important when you're trying to employ Scrum that you do, whilst each team should be free to define its own ways of working, there's an element of you needing alignment between all the different teams so that you can come together at useful points and proceed, understand where everyone else is, bring your deliverables together in order to go forward and decide what are the next things each of the teams are going to do to deliver most value to the organization. Now, unless you have that coming together of all of the teams to that common thinking point with a common cadence, it's very difficult for teams to line up. And then you get your projects or products developing at different paces and you miss opportunities for alignment. So that would be the aspect I'd be focusing on.
All right. Interesting. Thanks, Richard. And Johann, are you want to add something?
Yeah. So do make sure that if you work with multiple teams on the same product backlog, as Richard said, that you create the opportunity for teams to coordinate on a daily basis. That also shouldn't be longer than 15 minutes.
Right. Okay. So now everybody nailed it down to the point. So I hope you got something out of the panelists' valuable answers. And Suchitra, I would love to move on to the next question, please.
Our next question is from Prem Jin. In light of the changing scenarios since 2001, do organizations outside the software industry adopting agile methods require agility in values and principles?
Yeah, I think that is something where we can answer quickly, and I would like to ask the panel to give short answers on this one. So let's start with Adrian.
I suspect I'm going to steal Johann's thunder here, so apologies for that. But it comes back to something that we've both said earlier, and that is, if you're going to take agility outside of the software space, then you need to take the Agile values, the Agile Manifesto values and principles, and adopt them, all of them, to where you want to bring agility to.
All right. Thanks, Adrian. And let's hear from Johann.
And my answer would be, Adrian, absolutely spot on. The way that you see whether you're going in the right direction is that you're aligned to all 12 principles. That's it. Simple as that.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Richard, do you agree to that?
Oh, well, how could I possibly disagree? There's a difference. If Johann says it, it must be true. I was going to actually say that what happened in 2001 was an enabling idea or set of ideas for an event that actually happened in 2007 with the launch of so many globalized, highly networked deliverables. You know, the iPhone launch, specifically is the point that I would highlight, but also the true launch of Google and many other great ideas came out in 2007, which meant that you could really start to realize the advantages of agile practices and agile ways of working, because you need to be able to exploit these global networks and the power of the network to build highly complex solutions, which mean that the amount of value that's delivered is proportional to the number of nodes on that network. And that is the growth, massive growth, that I feel that the Agile Manifesto was there ready to address in 2001.
All right, good point. All right, thanks. Time's moving, and so are we. Suchitra, we probably have time for one more question.
Yeah, we have a question from Daniel in Australia. Is there a membership body that could support me in my development goals in both Agile and Scrum?
Oh, Daniel, certainly there is. And I want these panelists not just to say yes or no, but also to mention those membership bodies. And let's start with Richard, please.
Well, as a representing the Agile Business Consortium, I couldn't help but I need to emphasize the point that the Agile Business Consortium is a professional body, is the professional body for business agility. And we provide a route for individuals to join. We have 3 professional levels and 2 additional levels, and encouraging continued professional development to help individuals move their progression through their careers, and we encourage training and learning and growth in their application of agility.
All right, thanks, Richard. And let's hear next from Johann.
Absolutely. So, incidentally, Richard, my first Agile certification is an ABC1. There are, however, lots of local communities that you may also find. Just go and Google it. And it's extremely helpful to talk to people within your market that also understands the context of things that's busy happening within your country or within your industry. And also don't forget, other things. You're going to learn a lot from the Lean community also. You're going to learn a lot from the DevOps community, because these things are also about acting with agility.
Right, yeah. Good point. Thanks, Johann. And let's hear next from Dierk, please.
So I don't know if you have that community in Australia like we have in Germany, but beside some membership body, I would really suggest that you can go to conferences, go to meetings. In Germany, we have some local meetings, we have regional meetings, we have online meetings. So go on and exchange your experience with experience from others. So on top of some membership body, on top of really good training materials and all things like that, go outside, go to your membership, go to your community. And I think in Australia, you will have that too. Really in a presence meeting, meeting everyone's maybe. We do have that in Germany, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're right, Dierk. And probably that this is this networking and also the virtual networks that you can have, but they will never reach the value of a professional body, of a membership body. But let's hear from Adrian.
Yeah, there aren't too many of the professional bodies in the agility space that I know very well, apart from the Agile Business Consortium. And Richard said all that needs to be said on that. And I'm a big supporter. What I would point to is sort of various communities on LinkedIn, and also a number of other agile membership bodies are represented on LinkedIn. So I would say go to LinkedIn and search around agile and agility, and a number of organizations will present themselves, and then you can do your sort of research. Again, it may be one that's more suited in your geography. It may be one that's more suited in the nature of the work you do, IT, engineering, project management, whatever it happens to be. But I would do that. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Adrian. Well, this was so far. We managed a couple of those questions that have reached us either live or from or previously into Slido. And I'd like to thank all of you producers, as we call you out there on the internet, for the excellent questions you brought us today. You've done a great job. And like I mentioned in the beginning, watch out for your name in the credits if your question was selected. And we had a couple of live questions. My dear panel, it's time for your closing remarks. And I would like to start in reverse order with Dierk Sollner.
So,
Hello,
like
Dierk.
I always said, oh no, hello?
Oh yeah, you are there. You're there.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. No unmuting or muting problems. So thank you, Stephan. Thank you, Johann. Thank you, Shola. Thank you, Adrian and Richard. I always say I'm learning from these questions. I'm learning from this exchange and between us. So thank you for all, and hope to get started with a fresh impressions from this panel on this level
Good.
up episode.
Yeah, thanks, Dierk. No, that was interesting. Adrian, what's your closing remark for today?
Again, a fantastic panel to bounce off. So thank you all. Thanks for the questions coming in, which challenged us today. I guess my leaving thought is, when you're talking about being agile, be clear about what agile you're talking about. Agile IT, as software development agility, is not the same as project management or marketing or engineering. They are different adaptations. What they pretty much all have behind them is the adaptation of the Agile Manifesto. So that's your starting point.
Okay, good advice. Thanks, Adrian. And let's hear next from Shola.
Well, thank you very much. This discussion is all about Scrum and Agile, and Scrum is part of Agile, and the approach of Agile is being reactive. Things are always changing around us, isn't it? So members of this panel have confirmed that they are still learning, and these are the leaders of the industry. I always learn great ideas on joining the Agile business concept, absolutely. LinkedIn, communities, different fora. We are always learning and bringing value to our stakeholders. Thank you for letting me be part of this great discussion.
Yeah, you are welcome, Shola. Richard, what's your advice to our viewers?
Well, I think Shola really nailed it there again. Thank you very much, team. It's been a pleasure taking part of this great conversation with you all. I think my leaving point would be, to really make the most of Scrum and agility. Be the change yourself. Take personal responsibility for learning and engaging with people. Reflect on new ideas. Find people who you respect, who you can talk to about these things, because our greatest learning actually comes with those coffee conversations. I'd encourage you to take lifelong learning if you're really going to embrace agility in a big way.
Yeah. And I would like to add, if you don't have virtual coffee breaks in your organizations, start to invent them. They're really good. Right. But let's hear a final closing remark from Johann, please.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for being able to be part of this awesome panel. And as everybody else said, learn. I normally end off with a quote. Today I'm going to cheat. I'm going to quote myself. So just remember, Agile is not a shoot from the hip. It's not a laissez-faire affair. That would be irresponsible, and quite frankly, it shows a lack of leadership. So use the 12 principles and the 9 leadership principles as your heuristic to make sure that what you're doing is actually agile.
Yeah, right. Okay. Great advice is coming from these panelists, Suchitra, don't you think so? We could talk about this probably for another hour. What's your view on that?
For sure. Yes, Stephan, for sure. We've had so many questions. We have more live questions actually waiting. So we should pick that up in another show again. But thank you to the panelists. And of course, our viewers and producers, without whom the show is incomplete. So thank you.
Yeah, all right. Okay, well done, everyone. And thank you very much. And by the way, over on our website, you can search for answers to almost 2,000 questions. It's a comprehensive free resource connecting you to more than 200 experts from around the world. If video isn't your first choice, you can also listen to the audio versions of this show on your preferred podcast platform. Just take a moment to like, comment, share, and unsubscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps you folks, to discover our content. On Friday, the 21st of July, we will have a look at using artificial intelligence and automation in business, and we are looking forward to your questions. On Monday, 24th of July, we want to shed some light on why certifications matter when building your career. And on Friday, 28th of July, we will dive a bit deeper into how to become a business analyst. Shows on Fridays start at 14 and on Mondays at 8, always British summertime. Subscribe to Level Up and we will send you a personal summary of what's coming up and how you can join us here on the panel and level up your career with APMG. Thanks everyone. See you on Friday. Bye-bye.